Mom loved every one of you dearly, and I love every one of you dearly too. So, on behalf of the family, thank you for coming. And I want to introduce our first speaker this morning. She's going to give some opening remarks. Her name is Faith Steele. Faith is a longtime friend of my mom's. I don't know what we would have done this summer without Faith. She was there when we needed a break. She was there when Jeff needed to run to the grocery store. She was there when Mom was scared. She was there when Mom was a little out of her mind at the end. And she was there for many, many years. So Faith, come on up and welcome her. Thank you.
Well, is this a beautiful place to celebrate the life of Patty Armstrong, who was the kindest, most unselfish person I know. I met Patty in 1981. At the time, she was a teacher assistant. This brilliant lady was a teacher assistant in a classroom for special needs kids. And very soon, I learned that Patty's attention was all about those kids. She knew them through and through. She noticed everything about them. She knew their name, knew their caregivers' names, usually knew their life situation. And she noticed every behavior they had, and she knew what those behaviors communicated, and she responded to them with caring love. And long after those kids were out of her classroom, she still knew their name, often knew their situation as they became adults. So soon after that, I was lucky enough that Patty became a teacher assistant for the PTOT program, so I had the honor of working with her for many years. She and I worked together a lot at the Benet School. And once again, her attention was all about the kids. She celebrated their uniqueness, she knew their strengths, and she worked hard to help them progress. And she remembered them all, even well into her illness. It was probably about 3 weeks before she died. I'm sitting in the living room, Patty's on the couch, and she starts on kids from Benet. She knew their names. I don't remember all this stuff. She'd say the little girl's name. She said, "Do you remember her?" I said, "Remember, she used to go in the bathroom and she'd peek in that crack in the style door to see who was in there." She brought up another child's name and said, "You could see her coming from a mile away because her head was waving." And she goes, "Remember that little boy?" She knew his name too. "He didn't know your name, but the first thing he asked you was, 'Where do you live?' And you give him your address, and from then on, he would tell you what your phone number started with and what your zip code was." She remembered all of that. She was a great, great teacher. Every child that she had became part of her life. And she touched all of their lives and gave them meaning and significance. Now, in working with Patty, I have to bring up a couple of her traits here. One of them is the woman could not say no. It was absolutely impossible. She could not disagree. She absolutely had the hardest time with not allowing herself to be pushed to places that she felt like she either shouldn't go or really didn't want to go. One day I went in to work and she was so upset. I'm like, "What?" And she tells me the story. One of the therapists had asked her to call the doctor regarding orthotics that one of the kids was wearing. And I go, "Patty, you can't do that." And she goes, "I know." And I said, "Well, tell her that's her job. It's not in your job description." Oh no, she'd be upset. And I'm thinking, better her than you. But anyway, she asked me to do it, and I did. But that happened so many times that I kept teasing her. I said, "Patty, I'm going to put up a big sign, and I'm going to put a big N-O on it. And I want you to practice saying no." And we talked about that a lot, but she never got there. Never, never. The other thing that drove Patty crazy was bad grammar. Oh my gosh. We went into a school, it was a weekly visit, and the principal was on the intercom most of the time when we went in. And this man could butcher the English language. I mean, he would say things like, they was going to the zoo. I seen him get off the bus. She would turn purple. And she'd say, how can anybody that talks like that, how do they let them be a principal? One time she was in the classroom working with one of the kids, and she came out and I met her in the hall, and she had that look. And I go, what? And she goes, did you know dead is a verb? No wonder people can't talk or write. But in traveling with Patty from school to school, we had the opportunity to converse. And at the time, both of us were going through some really difficult times in our lives. So we kind of leaned on each other. But what often happened is she would make the conversation be about what was going on with me. She would only make a few comments, but she led me to think about choices that I had and solutions I might consider. And the reason is because Patty was an amazing listener. If there's one thing we can learn from Patty's life, it is that listening is truly an act of love. She is a teacher. There's a network of us that all worked together. And I realized in visitation, when we all ran into each other again, none of us had kept up with each other. We'd all talked to Patty. And because we all talked to Patty, we knew things that were happening to each other. Because she cared about all of us, and she cared about our celebrations, and she cared about our struggles. So what she's still teaching us is that we need to listen to our friends and our family, because listening is the best thing you can do for anybody. So Patty, thank you for listening to me all those years. And I'll see you when I get there, and hopefully I'll be half as good a listener as you are. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Faith. Mom was born in 1945, right as World War II was coming to an end in Ashland, Kentucky, in the mountains of eastern Kentucky. Unlike most people from Ashland, Mom got out and saw the world, saw America. She lived in Florida, Georgia twice, Virginia, New York, Ashland, Lexington, Louisville, Kansas, Texas, Colorado, Alaska, and California. It's a lot of places to live, but her favorite place was always Kentucky and home. So I want to ask everybody on the back of the program are the words, lyrics to "Mama Kentucky's Home." She was especially fond of the version that was sung by former Governor Happy Chandler. And despite his flaws, and he did have some when he grew up, nobody sings "Mama Kentucky Home" like he does. And I couldn't find that song version on Apple Music, so I had to go to YouTube. So the quality's not the best, but I hope you'll join me in singing "Mama Kentucky Home."